Hi, I'm Kerry O'Shea, the coordinator of The Voice and host for this evening's webinar. A special welcome to tonight's presenter, District 9560 Club Builder Extraordinaire, past DG, Terry Daley from Rotary Rockhampton-Fitzroy. Hi, Terry, how you going?
I'm great, thank you. Glad to be here.
It's important at this stage to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm hosting tonight's webinar. I acknowledge the strength of their continuing culture and offer my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I love the array of reconciliation activities that are in the pipeline here in Western Australia. Fantastic. And now for that presentation. Whatever you do, don't let anyone join your Rotary Club. Over to you, past Governor Terry Daley, to tell us all about it.
Well, thanks for having me on, Caro. I appreciate it. I have membership as a passion of mine, has been for some time. And to give you a bit of a brief history, I was 20 years in one Rotary Club that was all male, and I proposed a female to join. And that didn't go down very well in all sorts of fashions. And she was refused membership, as was her husband, because I felt if she was refused, her husband shouldn't be in the club either. So I was sitting there one night and I was looking around and I thought, well, these fellas are happy. They're a very effective Rotary Club, very busy Rotary Club. It's me that's out of step. So I decided I would go across to the Rockhampton-Fitzroy Rotary Club. Rockhampton-Fitzroy was chartered in 2011, and at that time there was a big push to have Rotary clubs in universities. So we chartered a club, four of us chartered a club called Rockhampton-Fitzroy at the CQ University. We chartered with 27 members. But as time went on and members moved away, studies completed and all that sort of stuff, and some poor leadership and poor mentorship, in 2014, the club was down to 2 members and hadn't met for 7 months and had packed up their charter ready to go back to the district governor. So I went across there on the proviso that we run the club very, very differently. I've been fortunate enough to be around the world and to visit many Rotary clubs and see from a distance the issues that they faced. So I was determined not to have to face those issues in the Rockhampton-Fitzroy Rotary Club. So we have no meal. We meet at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night. We're finished by 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. We have no board of directors. We do all our business at the meeting. So it operates very differently. It's a great club, and I enjoy going to it. So, as a Rotarian, I believe you all have a responsibility, and that is to allow others to experience what you have in Rotary. We all take away different things. We all get different experiences. You have a responsibility to contribute to a club in whatever capacity you can, and that may mean just going to meetings. That may mean working or doing other projects. You need to accept diversity and difference of opinions. In my club now, we have 5 from Zimbabwe, we have 1 from Papua New Guinea, we have 1 from Nepal, we have 2 from Vanuatu. So we're the United Nations of Rotary in this district up here. To be inclusive of all members. You will have members that will come and not be sure what they can do. You need to have them involved. You need to give them something to do. Well, what's the point of them being there? Need to abide by the 4-way test, and I think that that's pretty important. The 4-way test really says it all, and I think you need to promote Rotary and its programs as a Rotarian. The first thing I believe you need to do is to fix your club up and bring it up to the 21st century. We don't do any singing, we don't have sergeants. We only do toasts to Rotary International or the Rotary Foundation on special occasions. And we just sign off each night with the four-way test. We do all the business at the meetings, and that includes financials. So often I've seen boards of directors make decisions without the members' knowledge, and it does cause a lot of conflict within the club. You need to keep your meetings to an hour, and guest speakers need to be kept to 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, if that's the time you've allotted them, you need to chop them off. It is bad manners to take somebody else's time. And you need to encourage all members to voice their opinions and respect the difference of opinions. So I think, first of all, a Rotary Club needs to actually join Rotary. You need to engage the district governor, the regional governor, and district officers. The only issue you're going to have if you ask for help is sifting through the volume of help you will get from those, from the governor and the regional governor and the district officers. District officers are in their position because they're passionate about their program, and they will make sure you have all the information you need. You need to ensure My Rotary is always up to date, add and remove members. I was going through our membership list here in this district, and there's about 5 clubs that have members still on My Rotary that have passed away more than 5 years ago. So it's pretty poor. Use Rotary's Learning Centre. It is an absolutely fantastic resource, and you can make it a competition for everybody to bring a certificate to say they've completed a section in there. And you can go back to it and continue on weeks later if you want to. Could use Rotary Club Central to set your goals and review the goals. And we take it to our club, Rotary Club Central, Rotary's Learning Centre and My Rotary, and put it up on a big screen so all the members have seen it. They know what it is. I think we only have 2 or 3 in our club of 44 that don't have a My Rotary pass. Use district email systems, and I'm talking about it, my district here at the moment. We use 365. It is fantastic. The district pays for it, and we use SharePoint a fair bit. I think clubs should produce a bulletin each week, even if they only meet fortnightly, and that shouldn't be more than maybe 1 or 2 pages. Because those clubs that meet fortnightly, if somebody misses a meeting, they've missed a month, and that's a fair bit. And they can lose touch very easily and very quickly. We use social media to its best, and we also use district Facebook. My club has a Facebook site. We're shortly to set up an Instagram site. I don't understand it. I don't do Bookface myself, but my wife does and tells me what I need to know. And you need to ensure your governance is updated when required. Make sure you liaise with your district insurance officer. And you need to make your club attractive. Dues, in my opinion today, should not exceed $65 each 6 months. You should consider no meals, no sergeant. I would encourage clubs to meet weekly, even though I've set up 2 clubs now, Bar Calden, which meets fortnightly, and I'm in the process of setting up a club in Claremont, which will meet weekly. We do 5-minute interviews for each member throughout the year. We just stand them up and ask them a series of questions, and we learn so much about them. Amazing. So when I said dues should not exceed $65 each 6 months per member, that's a long way short of the $290, which is the total cost to be in Rotary. That's your RI dues, your district dues, your council on legislation and RVU. So I've sent Caro some information that justifies why you should be retaining an administrative percentage of the projects that you do. And contained in that information, perhaps Caro might send it out to you, is a link to the ACNC, which is Australian Charities Not-for-Profit. Now, the Australian Charities Not-for-Profit last year or year before last actually, when Rorke's got $6 million to distribute for drought relief, the Australian Charities Not-for-Profit told the federal government that it would be unlikely that an organisation would produce a positive outcome if it didn't retain less than 10% of its activity. And that's there on the front of the ACNC site for everybody to read. Here in Queensland, I got a ruling when I was governor back in 2008 from the Department of Fair Trade. They said it was quite okay to charge an administrative percentage of your projects, providing it was a reasonable amount. You know, it's up to each club to determine what's a reasonable amount. My club does 15%. And in that clause that we put in our bylaws, you can't change the Constitution. I think it's Article 19 of the bylaws. We have in there that the club may retain up to 15% of its activities for administrative purposes. Now, the words of up to also need to go in there, because if it says the club will retain 15%, when you're audited, it must be exactly 15%. If it says up to, then you can take any amount from 0 to 15%. And before I go on, I'll say this, that if we're raising funds for a disaster, then 100% of those funds must and should go to that disaster. So that's how we get up with $65 each 6 months. Now, I know one club here that charges $40 a year. Now, I know we're always saying we've got to keep it affordable to keep young people in the club. But you've got to remember too that some of us self-funded retirees may be in a position where we can't afford it either. So across the board, that's where I believe it should be. So we don't have a meal, we don't have a sergeant, but probably once a month we'll all head out to the pub after the meeting. Some have a meal, some just have a few drinks. And I think that that's a good way to go. So if that's not working for you in your club, then you should consider starting a new club. And that's not a difficult process. You need 20 members. Satellite clubs need 8 non-Rotarians to start. In this district, satellite clubs have never, all the satellite clubs that have been started have never ventured into an actual Rotary club. There are still some satellite clubs kicking around, but they don't seem to grow. I think you're better off aiming to be a Rotary club from the start rather than a satellite club. And you'll get heaps and heaps of help from districts to do that. I personally don't believe in Friends of Rotary. I don't think you can be half pregnant. You're either in Rotary or you're out of Rotary. And if you have Friends of Rotary, they receive all the benefits that you do without having to contribute. So I think that you'll find, and maybe you'll agree with me, in the last couple of decades, people don't seem to stay in the same job for a long time. I think there's a change in culture. And if you have members that are only there for 12 months, I think that's okay. I think that's fine, providing they left for the right reasons. So long as they were engaged, whilst they were a member, they will never forget Rotary. In a lot of cases, they will come back to Rotary. Whilst retention is important, I don't believe it's a measure of a successful, effective Rotary club. My club this year has inducted 22 new members. Out of that 22, we have, well, not out of that 22, but we have lost 4 members this year. 1 member passed away, 1 member relocated up north, 1 member left because of personal reasons, and 1 member left to look after her disabled husband. And I think we've got a pretty good record as far as retention goes. Whilst it's important, I don't think that it's the measure of a successful club. So we've gone from 2 members in 2014 to 45 members today, with another 4 or 5 kicking around in the wings. And I think, as well as a change in culture, technology's made us terribly time poor. So we hold a membership night twice a year. And this is what the membership night is. We start at 6 o'clock. We do What is Rotary for 2 minutes, Foundation for a couple of minutes, Rorks for 2 minutes, do a few other Rotary programs, 2 or 3 minutes, and then what our club programs are, what our club projects are, and then the cost to be in our club's a couple of minutes, and then a message from the president. And that totals to about 20 minutes. Now, as you and I know, that the majority of successful integration is talking to people one-on-one, and not sitting in a meeting, not going to ask a question. So we do a sausage on bread and a drink, and all the members supposed to bring one guest. But it's out there when we're having the sausage and the drink that most of the promotion of Rotary, or the sealing of that person determining to be a Rotarian, that's where it comes from. The fact is that they actually came to a Rotary meeting indicates that they are interested. So I go on and I say, don't let anyone join your Rotary Club. And I think to myself, who are we to judge and stop someone from becoming a Rotarian to do good in the world? I know of 2 clubs in this district that go through an interview process, and they only get about 50% of those people they accept to become a member. I don't think we've got that right. I think we've got to allow everybody to experience Rotary, everybody who wants to. And you're stopping them by not asking someone for help. I never, ever ask anybody, do you want to join Rotary? Because they don't know what it is, and that's a yes or a no answer, and you're going to get a no answer. I always say to them, we need a bit of help. Can you come along and have a look and see if you can give us some help and have a look at Rotary? It should be made a big deal when you induct a new member, and you should include the sponsor when you induct that person. That encourage that sponsor to go and find another one. But there'll be a number of Rotarians, and even myself, I've been in 30 years now, just under 30 years. I still remember the night I was inducted. And so will they, if you make it memorable. And you'll find some people that you think are most unlikely to be a Rotarian really become true Rotarians. So that's my take on membership at the moment. And that's our Facebook page. And I'm going to hand back to Kira.
Fantastic. Thanks, Terry. I knew it was going to be thought-provoking, and you haven't let us down. Glenda Bryson has a couple of questions for you. So, Glenda, you could lead off with the first 2 questions.
Thank you very much, Caro. And Terry, absolutely thought-provoking. Here we go. This is so left field to what I've been listened to for the last 17 years. I don't say this is bad. I say this is great. Absolutely great. My couple of questions, I'll start with the easy one. Why do you think that the satellite clubs aren't converting to Rotary clubs? Have you got any statistics on the why, the how, the what?
No, I don't have any statistics other than to say that the sponsored club for the satellite club, I don't know that they do enough with them. I don't think they mentor them enough. I don't think they encourage them enough. I don't think they include them enough. We have a situation here where we have a rural country town that's out in the sticks that's down to 3 members. And they have another fairly large Rotary club of about 35 members, only 90 kilometres away. Rather than let that little club fold, I would suggest that that would be an excellent opportunity for them to be a satellite club. I doubt they'd ever go back up to being a Rotary club, but we keep Rotary in that town. Rotary is crucial to some of these rural areas. And for so long now, we just let clubs fall over and we leave them be and don't go do anything about it.
Yeah, sorry.
I really don't know why satellite clubs in this district don't end up being Rotary clubs.
I'd be interested to see what other districts are. I'm in District 9800, and which is Melbourne. Well, when I say Melbourne, I'm in rural Victoria now, and I'm still in District 9800, which is Melbourne. So, I don't get it. But anyhow, but your comment there about keeping Rotary in those country towns is paramount for the town. You look at all the apex clubs that have gone by the wayside, then the Lions clubs that have struggled. So all of a sudden, there's no service clubs in in those local communities, and those small communities need those service clubs. So it's great if they can retain as a satellite club.
Yep.
Now, the next one's a bit controversial. I have never, ever seen a Rotary Club that takes a percentage of fundraising monies as an administration fee to help run the club. I understand what you're saying. It sort of goes against the grain of what we see advertised. 100% of profits goes to Rotary projects. And I respect you made the comment about if it's a natural disaster, floods, etc., that 100% does go. So then you've got to say, well, how come you don't take a percentage off that? I'm being a devil's advocate, by the way.
Yep, no, that's fine.
How come you don't take a percentage off that, but you take a percentage off the ones for the sausage sizzles and the car shows and Lord only knows what else? So how many clubs in your district do this that you're aware of? A couple of questions. Do you let the public know that a percentage of the fundraising monies is going to your club's administration? And what's their reaction?
All right. Firstly, I appreciate that we have Rotarians who still push for 100% of funds raised goes to, for the community goes to the community. If you look at the ACNC, Australian Charities Not-for-Profit, you're registered as a charity, they will tell you a different story. They will tell you that it's unlikely you can produce a positive outcome without charging an administrative percentage. There is probably, I would suggest, at least 68 to 70% of the clubs in this district charge an administrative percentage and have done for a number of years. Probably back, I'd say, at least for 12, 14 years since we got the ruling from the Department of Fair Trade. If you look at that front page on the ACNC, it will tell you that you can't compare charities by their administrative percentage because they have different things. Like Surf Life Saving is 72% administration, but under that administration is rent, is wages, and so on. If you look at Rorke's charges 3%, our Rotary Foundation charges you 8% of all your donations to the foundation. And I think that's just keeping us in line. There are some organisations like Oxfam, they're up over 50%. In this district, I know of one club that charges 40% of their sausage sizzle on a Saturday morning. Now, they are a club of 7 elderly ladies, and they're in a little rural town, and they have no other way really of raising funds. They do most of their work through grants. So there is another club here. Some clubs do 5%, some do 10%, some do 15%. I know one club that does 20%. Now, if you take 15% of a project, say it turns out to be a big project, and that you think that's too much money, you really all you want to do is run your club and keep up with your dues, subsidise your dues. So if it's a big amount of money, then you don't take it, because I said up to 50%.
Yep.
You know, we run a big sausage sizzle and barbecue we're going to try and build a new hospice here in Rockhampton. So 100% of that went to that project, and the club makes the decision as it goes along. So that's where we're at here in this this district anyhow. And I do know in the district to the south of us, 9620, there's quite a few clubs do it there as well. I've spoken in New South Wales, there's clubs in there that do it, and certainly in Tasmania. I don't know about Victoria, South Australia or Western Australia.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very informative. I'm going to follow this through.
You know, when I was in Rocky North, you know, the hardest thing for me to do when I went to Rockhampton-Fitzroy was to lose the tradition. I liked the tradition, but I've had to forego that to get this club where it is.
Thanks, Glenda, and thanks, Terry. Terry, and there's perhaps an alternative that relates to the percentage, that in Western Australia, one of the things that clubs can do is to dedicate a particular fundraising function, if you like, to the cost of growing Rotary and administering their club. Now, I had it put to me that clubs that, for example, run a regular market could actually dedicate a particular market to not just growing Rotary, but to the good work of the foundation, to actually turn it into a festival of Rotary and actually make it into a recruitment process while they're fundraising. Would that idea have traction?
Yep, and my apologies, Glenda, I didn't completely answer your question about having a function where we tell the public that a percentage is going to administration. Now, if we have a function, and we don't do it very often, I just think we'd be lucky to do one a year, where all the funds are going to club administration, then yes, we do tell the public. We'll have a sign up there saying all funds from tonight's proceedings will be going to club administration. And I think people need to know. You need to be honest, you know, we need to look at the four-way test. But if we're running a sausage sizzle, well, we don't worry too much about it.
A couple of comments there that maybe lend themselves to the questions. I might go over at this stage to Tony Alsop, who's put a comment in there that I think lends itself to a question. Over to you, please, Tony.
Sorry, just let me unmute. Yeah, from past experience, I thought we weren't allowed to take a percentage. It was something that we were proud of saying. We were 100% of funds raised went to community projects.
That's true, Tony. We've said that for years and years, but if you ask RI, their opinion is that 100% of the funds we raise should go to Rotary projects. However, if you look at Australian common law, they will tell you that it's fine to do what we're doing, it's legal, but with Rotary International, they will say, 100% goes to Rotary's projects, but they won't write it down. Under their breath, they'll say it's okay to do it, providing it complies with common law. That's been my experience today.
I guess, Terry, I'd put another question to you, that would you find it as easy to grow Rotary clubs the way you have if that barrier to entry went up from $130 to $300 or more?
Simple answer is yes. And there are still clubs here that charge an administration and then to admit you, $200 if you want to become a member, then your fees on top of it. That's okay for somebody who can afford it. But looking across the board, there are many young people, middle-aged people, and aging people who really do not need to pay that amount of money.
We have a question there from Lisa Hunt. Over to you, please, DG and Lisa.
Thank you, Caro. Look, Terry, I've actually heard of it because it's something we've looked at. So I'm in District 9640. So we actually cover 2 states of Australia. So we're actually Queensland and New South Wales.
Yes.
And I think one of the challenges is, and this is about the movement of people within Australia, is that we can look at each of the state legislations and legals, but we also need to, as Rotarians, I think, have a level of consistency in what we do. Now, one of the things that a couple of our clubs have done, because they do run big annual projects, one of them is like a big botanical bazaar, right? So a lot of the insurance that we have to have for our projects, we've very much looked at, all right, insurance is definitely something for those type of projects where we think it is fair, the integrity is there and it's reasonable to deduct it, right? So just taking that out of play, I think, is kind of that first line. I don't know whether I'm turning this into a question, Caro, or whatever, but it's the other hand with the admin, I suppose. My concern is that having been a Rotaractor in a Sydney district, which is now a merged district, being a Rotarian in District 9640, having been in Rotary districts globally, I suppose one of the things is that do we run a risk of people going, what the hell are you about, to put it bluntly, if we end up with so many differences? So I totally get the point of entry, right? And the ability to keep that fee down is critical at all age groups, regardless of where you are in the age cycle. Jobs, economics, whatever it is, can put constraints there. But it's obviously working. And your little example of the 3 people in a town, I've got an example in our own district of 4 people in a town. Technically, RI will not let us convert them to a satellite club. So we actually have to look at a different type of extension, new style club design. It's a challenge, but they're the rules that we're under. So you've got to know where the black line is on the paper and work really fast in between it. That's probably, Terry, I guess, have you found that with Rotarians who move around? Because we have a lot of net immigration coming to us in Queensland, obviously. But I do know from being a district that is across 2 states of Australia, we do have 2 very different regimes. So as a future district leader, that is one of the things that I'm mindful of. And I think the big thing is that it's about insurance, kind of makes sense, and that is a big thing that we can do. The point of, I know lots of clubs will charge regardless of whether you eat or not, you just have a $5 contribution as you come along. You'd be surprised how that can add up.
Yep.
It's kind of little things like you run a raffle, you run a whatever to help towards it. But, I mean, have you found as people moved around that you've had any kind of questions, or they're like, oh, my God, we're going to stay here because it's cheaper? Like, what are you finding?
I don't think people stay because it's cheaper. I think they're happy with where they are.
Yeah.
See, the other thing is that somebody mentioned the other day that it could be a number of Rotarians become Rotaractors now, because Rotaract's $15 each 6 months, and Rotary's a heck of a lot more. Who knows? I can't see it happening myself.
Wait, between midnight and 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Apparently that's on the agenda. So we'll see what comes out.
Yep. But, we've got in our club now 3 interactors come straight out of Interact into a Rotary Club. And we've got to look after them. And if we give them a good experience and give them some self-fulfillment and some leadership, some training, then they're going to stay with us for a number of years. And they don't stay in one job very long. I don't know if you've seen them, but, we've got people in our club that have had 4 or 5 jobs in 1 year. But that's fine. They're great Rotarians and they make up the numbers. As far as the percentage for administration, Rorks use Rotary Australia World Community Service, by the way, they use the federal government's schedule of value of volunteers or specific professions. Now, if we were to use that, we're all underpaid terribly. But that also puts a lot of weight on being able to help with membership dues from out of the club account.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Lisa, for that thought-provoking question. Terry?
Yes?
Just a thought, there's perhaps an alternative here, because we've been kind of rusted on to the big fees in most cases. would it not, just as another devil's advocate idea, if we universally pushed for the lower level fee and encouraged people who felt they had the spare money to invest in Rorks and invest in foundation, couldn't that be a way of freeing up a whole lot more money for Rorks and foundation?
Yes, certainly. I think that has merit. I mentioned earlier I'm starting a new club in Claremont. Claremont's about 5 hours drive from here, so I'll be heading out there again tomorrow. We're up to 17 members, but there is a company out there called Bennett's Contracting, and they are from another country town further down the road, and they have offered to put in $5,000 a year to cover members' dues. Now, I think the members need to pay something for the privilege to be a Rotarian. So the club has decided they're going to set their dues at $55 each 6 months. Now, this company puts in $5,000. They got their dues covered for almost 12 months. I think that there's an avenue there for Rotary clubs to be sponsored by businesses. I know we can't give them a tax-deductible receipt, but if companies were prepared to put money in, we've had companies put money into our community account so we can go and do a project. We need that sort of sponsorship. I don't think we do enough towards it. And I'll give you another example. There was up to $250,000 was available here in Queensland. I think it was 2 years ago from the COVID fund to help fund administration of organisations. Now, I put that forward to our governor at the time, but nothing eventuated. We never even applied for it. But if we had $250,000 to run our district, we got a pretty big district. We'd be able to shift our governor around and shift district officers around a lot more than we do. You know, I'm on Teams 5 nights this week, started on Sunday, and I'm over it. I like to go and talk to people. And so, you know, we're doing a foundation roadshow in about 3 weeks' time where we go around the clubs. 3 of us go around and do a roadshow on the foundation, keep it simple and keep them up to date. You know, it costs money to shift people around, and we need to shift our district officers around, and they need to be face-to-face. You know, Teams and Zoom's good, but it's not the same.
Got you there, Terry, for sure. Your classmate and my good friend, past Governor Pushpa, has a question for you. I think he wants to say hello as well. Over to you, please, Pushpa.
Thank you, Carol. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Pushpa. You're getting on a bit.
Aren't we all after 20 years or so as past district governors? How's Debbie anyway?
Debbie's been in hospital since last Thursday and still there now. Yeah, she hasn't got COVID, but she's got some sort of infection and some sort of virus.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Now, social side is over. Now coming to the question. First and foremost, I must congratulate you on a wonderful presentation. Very good presentation. I got 2 questions for you. One is on your Fix Your Club. I fully agree with you that I think it's time the clubs got rid of all these sergeant sessions and singing of songs. I think it gets boring, especially in my club. They will ask whoever is supporting Eagles, please stand up and put $1. Whoever is supporting Dockers, you put $1, and it drags on and on and on. And I think all meetings should be confined to 1 hour. If not, you lose interest and people will just start moving out. In fact, in my own club, I'm getting a bit disappointed. I'm thinking of shifting to another club because the meetings drags on and I have a long way to attend the club meetings. My question to you is, when you say that your Queensland state has got a ruling where you can take a certain amount from all public fundraising events, Do you advertise that when you hold a fundraising event? Do you advertise that part of the proceeds are going to our club administration? And
No, we don't.
one
We-
more question, Terry. How do you manage to run your club with a membership fee of $45? Our district at the moment is preparing the budget, and they have recommended $116 as club dues. How do
All
you
right.
manage in your district? Thank you.
No worries, Pushpa. We don't advertise it. We retain a percentage for administration for a number of reasons. One is that we don't know what it is, what that percentage will be. Excuse me. Number two, we might not take anything at all. We don't take it so we've got a big heap of money in our club account. As you know, most clubs struggle with their club account. We only take enough to do what we need to do. That is the administration of the club, your mailbox, your registration of your trailer, and the dues, probably a bit of paper here and there, and maybe a thing of ink for your printer. That's all there is. There's no other thing, nothing else in there for it. If we've got, at this point in time, right tonight, we've got about $4,500 in our club account. So we won't take 15% now until probably whatever we're doing in July, because we can meet all our costs. I know it takes a bit more administration, but that's the way it is. But if we were running it specifically for our club account, then yes, we would tell the public. But the other thing is that if you look on that front page of the ACNC, or if you Google not-for-profits in Australia, and there's 635,000 not-for-profit organisations in Australia, you Google that and see what their administration percentage is. I think you'd be absolutely shocked with some of them. But it's not up to us to justify what's reasonable. It's up to them. Last year, the ACNC cancelled the charity status for 13,200 organisations. And I'm told there was about 6 Rotary clubs in that. So I think it's justified. I think that it's the way of the future. If you can find a company that will sponsor your club like we have with Claremont, that's fantastic. And that's where we've got to tap into, those sorts of areas, a lot more than we do.
So is it fair to say, Terry, that this is a pretty significant area where we've got to update our thinking, and it may be letting go as part of this?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that at all. And if you look at the clubs in this district that are, how can I say, all the clubs in this district are effective, but the ones that are most successful in growing their membership, first of all, you've got to make the club attractive. If the club's still going on singing, grace and whatever, that's not really attractive to people these days. My club is 68% female. We have 18 under the age of 40. We've got 12 under the age of 30. We've got 2 under the age of 20, and I don't believe if we were a traditional club charging $290 or $300, we would have any of those people. And they're all doing good stuff.
Yeah. So building on that, Terry, one of my beliefs is that we have wonderful youth programs in Rotary, but we don't invest in them. And Lisa made a great statement at a recent webinar about investment, and I think it's something that where we underperform, that we should use those youth programs to invest in people like those past interactors. How does Rocky-Fitzroy go in that department in terms of investing youth programs?
Yep, we do extremely well. We send all our young ones go to Ryla. We've only got 2 left, and they'll be going next week. Next year, we'll probably have another 3 or 4 to go. We as a club, pay for them to go to RLI, Rotary Learning and Information, and that is just brilliant. They come back full of beans and ready to go. So we certainly do that. They're a bit old for Ripen or anything else. Rotaract, for some reason, has never survived in Rockhampton. There's been about 5 or 6 different clubs or attempts of clubs here in the last 20 years. None of them seem to have survived. And they seem to be struggling in the other towns as well. But they're a different dynamic. But we had one young lady who was a member of Rotaract and a member of our club, which was good to see, and there was a connection, a liaison between the two. But she's since left the organisation, so still in Rotaract, which is good.
Okay, you've mentioned that you had 60. Your club had, I think, 68% women members, or 68%. So, I suppose this next question is going to be pretty straightforward. What's Rocky Fitzroy doing to promote women as leaders in Rotary, or develop women as leaders in Rotary?
Probably much along the same lines. I think year before last, I think we had a female executive. We always have a good split. I tell you, it's pretty good because some of them can cook. But no, they hold down positions, and I've got to be honest, sitting here as a district governor, and I've been around the world and I've seen a lot of clubs, and I've got to be honest, it seems to me that when the ladies get hold of a project, you best just stand by the side and do what you're told and let them do it, and it will be done perfectly. So we're very, very lucky, and we have absolutely zero conflict in our club. We're all good friends, all good mates, all have a laugh. So no, I'm really happy with where Fitzroy is at the moment. It's not our intention to be the largest club in the district. It's just happening that way, where we have members that are enthused and gaining their Rotary knowledge, talking to people, bringing people to our meetings. From our membership night, we only got 6 members, but we've inducted 22 this year. So the others have come from somewhere else.
Does that mean that your members, if you brought in 6 members through a membership night, does that mean the other 16 were introduced by your members?
That's absolutely correct. And not by just one member. You know, there's been probably, I'd say, 12, 13 different members have brought members.
Wow. That is magic.
We're a very inclusive club. We've got one fellow, he's disabled he's got a head injury from a horse fall. Now, Michael comes to the club, and Michael's bloody slow when he's getting along on his wheelie walker, but Michael's about 40 years old. But we pick him up and take him to Rotary, and we take him home. And then when we cater for Speedway here in Rocky. Michael will be up there and he'll be buttering rolls. Now, he might be a little slow buttering them, but that doesn't matter. Michael's up there helping us and buttering rolls, laughing and carrying on with the rest of us.
So your club is modelling behaviours to demonstrate that people with disabilities are welcome at Rocky Fitzroy.
Absolutely, anytime.
Fantastic.
You know, we have another lady who's had a stroke and she's only got the use of one hand. Well, she's a great member. You know, she helps out heaps. She runs our Christmas raffle. And she goes around town and gets all the prizes, gets it all together. And of course, then we're going to go and wrap the blooming stuff up. There'll be 100 prizes she'll dig out for us. And she also comes out and helps us at Speedway. But the thing is that if that's all she does, that's just fantastic. That's a great contribution to our club. You know, we don't want everybody to do everything. We want each person to bring what they want to bring to the club, and get out of Rotary what they want to get out of Rotary.
That's a brilliant way to put it. So my next question is pretty redundant, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Our zone director, or our resident zone director, Jesse Harmon, said recently that a core issue that we've all got to address is centering our clubs on our members. In other words, making our clubs member-centric. That's the model that you're following?
That's absolutely true. Nothing true I said. No, it's without the members, you haven't got a club. So you got to make sure, the senior members of the club need to make sure that the younger members, the newer members, are able to pursue their passion and bring their projects to the club, and in turn help us with our projects.
Can I just ask a question before Terry?
Of course you can. Of course you can. Go for it, Linda. Yeah.
Linda Sweeney from Hillary's Rotary Club, District 9455. Could I just ask about corporate membership? There's been a lot of talk of how clubs could manage a corporate membership, and especially for smaller clubs with smaller members. Terry, your view on that and how would...
Yeah, Linda, I've seen clubs that have had corporate membership. I don't subscribe to corporate membership for these reasons. One is that it's great to have corporate membership, but then you're getting different people attending your meetings. And I don't see that it's turned them into Rotary members. I think they continue to be a corporate member, so as they know they don't have to come along, as often. I don't see those numbers of corporate members becoming Rotarians. From where I sit here at the moment, in the 3 or 4 clubs where I've seen corporate membership included. It may well work well in some areas. It may work extremely well in the cities, but it hasn't to date worked out here. It hasn't turned those corporate members, those people that come along with a corporate membership, into Rotarians, which I think would be the ultimate outcome.
Yep.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda. Terry Daley, this is where I ask what is one of my favourite questions of the night with a passionate club builder. Terry Daley, past District Governor Terry Daley, why are you in Rotary?
I'm in Rotary because I have a passion to help people achieve what they want to achieve. In the early days, I was in Rotary to give back and be part of an organisation that done some wonderful things around the world. But in later years, I get much more satisfaction out of seeing a younger member or another member of our club, doesn't have to be younger, achieve their goal within the club. Over the years since about 2007, I think I've taken about 560 project volunteers out on Rock Strip. I started the Helping Hands project, where we went to Cambodia and Sri Lanka, and done a lot of work in Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. I have an absolute in awe of some of these people that come over, give their time for 2 weeks and achieve something that's improved somebody else's life. Fantastic.
I reckon that's been a fantastic presentation. Lots of thought-provoking stuff. Let's give Terry a big round of applause for that. Thanks, Terry. Great stuff, mate. Great stuff.
Cracker.
And so on that note, thank you. Terry, if you could hang around for a moment, please, mate. Thank you, everyone else, for being with us tonight.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.